Mom's Worst Day podcast is an avenue for mothers to share their stories, things that did not go quite as planned, and interesting trials that come with motherhood. The podcast aims to encourage and uplift women, ease the burden of their ever-present mom guilt, and to let them know that they are not alone. I'm your host, Nicole and welcome to Mom's Worst Day. You've got this, mama. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mom's Worst Day. Today's guest is the beautiful, incredible mama, Datari Ladejo. So usually I kind of do like an introduction, but I want you to introduce yourself. But anyway, this is Datari Ladejo.
Hi.
Hello, Datari. Please introduce yourself and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really honored to be here. I don't even know where to start with my introductions, but as you mentioned, my name is Datari. I am a first-time mom. Resident here in Lagos. I'm a lawyer, content creator, all kinds of things, and a digital strategist. And I love to share about motherhood and my journey through motherhood and marriage. And, you know, that's what I do at the moment.
Amazing. Thank you. So Datari has the most incredible journey so far. I feel like even though you've only been a mom for Tiara's a year old.
Yeah, she's a year.
And you've been pregnant you were pregnant the year before. So, but I feel like you've had like an intense 2 years.
Yeah.
Which is why I was so keen to have you on the podcast. But thank you so much for joining us. First of all, like for people who don't see the clip, Data is looking. I don't even know what's happening. The hair is laid. The lashes are fluttering.
Thank
the
you.
nails are on fleek.
Oh,
like the whole works. I love to see it. Like I'm just here. Like wow.
I had to
really
get
need
glam
to
because I'm preparing for a girls' trip. My first girls' trip without my baby. So I'm just going for the full works here.
Please, round of applause for Datari as she embarks on this. It's a milestone, right, to be able to go on a trip without your child. Why is this happening now? Like, why was this important for you to go on this trip?
Now,
yeah.
Okay. So first of all, I have to say it was such a hard decision for me. I had to literally ask so many people, like, do you think I'm doing the right thing? Because I went on like these online chat rooms and I saw people like, oh, I left my baby for 3 days. And other people like, well, if you can do that, you know, good for you. But I could never do that. But
no.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I felt like the worst mom ever until I spoke to one of my friends who has 2 kids, and she was just like, girl, go, you know, just have time to be yourself, you know, and remember who you were before you were a mom. So for me, it's really important because I had my baby during the pandemic. So I literally had no break. And I was in America at the time, so we were not going outside at all because it was really crazy there. CNN was just like scaring everybody. So, you know, we were at home. And pretty much since then, I've just been like a hermit. Like I'm always at home with my baby. And right now, I just feel like I'm at a place where I kind of want to remember who I was. Everything about me at a certain point was very mommy. Like I was consumed with motherhood. And I think that I will be a better mother and a better wife if I just take this trip, do my thing, have fun, get it out of my system, and then come back to, you know, everything. So that's why I'm doing it now.
And the church says amen.
Hey.
Amen.
Pass the offering basket.
Like, amen. I love to hear it because, and I'm so happy that you have also come to that realization quite early in your motherhood journey. So for me, it took me a while. I was super consumed for so long. And I shared this a number of times on my platforms and on the podcast about how I felt like I wanted to be the best mom I could be, right? And that's what everyone wants to do. And so I equated motherhood with suffering. So it's like the more I suffer, the more haggard I feel, the more tired I am, the more, you know, the more spit up on me on my clothes. Like people would look at it and be like, wow, that is a mom.
Yeah, I know.
What a mother.
I know
She's
the
really,
feeling.
really working. But at the end of the day, right, to whose detriment, your mental health would just be deteriorating. You could get depressed. I was depressed for a couple of years after I had my kids because I just did not know how to get out of that. So when I hear like a younger mom come to that realization so early. I am so happy because your experience is going to be so much better for it when you're able to actually take a break and take some time to figure out what it is you want to do
Yeah.
and what makes you happy. So I am living. Yes.
Thank
Go
you.
on the trip, have fun. We can't wait. Data's page is amazing. Her page on Instagram is the Dilo.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, so that's where she puts all of her content that she creates around motherhood and her family, which is so beautiful.
Thank
so
you.
I'm going to turn on my post notifications.
Thank you.
Because I cannot miss this trip's content and everything you're going to be sharing.
Oh
with
yeah,
us.
we're ready.
Please,
you're
going to give us like the full thing.
We're ready from beginning till end.
We are here for you. So I'm going to be ready. So thank you and have fun. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you.
So I wanted to start off with your pregnancy.
Okay.
Because like you had mentioned just a few moments ago, you were pregnant in the height of the pandemic. And I think things are a bit better now, even though, of course, we're still very much in the pandemic. But then, like you had mentioned as well, like even just watching the news, everyone was so scared. Like at a point, we felt like, oh, if someone just breathes on you, or in fact, if someone with COVID walk past, the particles could be hanging in the air. And then if you now walk, if you enter the same kind of airspace, then you'll catch it and then you'll end up in ICU because everyone who gets COVID ends up in ICU and dies. And that must have been such a stressful time, especially being pregnant when you already have all these anxieties and worries. So that must have been hell.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask how your pregnancy, in actuality, differed from what you had in mind what your pregnancy journey would look like.
Oh my goodness, so many different ways, because you see a lot on social media with pregnant women and they're always glowing, and even the people that do share their honest version of their pregnancy, there's some things that you just don't, it doesn't occur to say to people. So for me, my mental picture was like, you just get bigger and you glow, and the first part of my pregnancy was actually not that bad when I was in Nigeria. Then I ended up in hospital, like I was bleeding a bit and I was on bed rest for a while. So that itself was very scary, because I was released from hospital on Christmas Eve. So it was my first Christmas with my husband, and I was released from hospital Christmas Eve, and we had friends coming around on Christmas Day. So I didn't want anybody to know I was on bed rest. I was trying to like stay as still as possible. And even being on bed rest in itself is so like, you feel like you're in prison, because you're scared that like any little thing that you'll do will affect your baby. And I remember my dad called me at one point, and I think my husband had reported me to him that I was just up and down the place. And my dad was like, look, that if you do anything, they'll say that it was because of you, that if anything happens to the baby, they'll just be like, that, see this word that cannot stay in one place, she did something and her baby lost the baby. So I was really, really scared at that point. Then traveling to America, and with the pandemic and everything, it was crazy. At some point, my mental health was definitely affected by the whole thing, because first of all, I knew very late into my pregnancy that my husband was not going to be able to make it for the birth. And I think I had this picture in my mind of like my husband holding my hand. I'd watched so many YouTube videos. I had the way that I wanted my birth plan to be, and my husband will be there. I don't know how active he would have been. I guess maybe I'll see with another baby, but I expected him to be there holding my hand, wiping sweat off my brow.
The ice chicks,
exactly.
Like whispering in your ear.
Do you know
and
what
all
I
of
mean?
that.
Giving me foot massages and whatever. But, just knowing that he wasn't going to be there in itself was really depressing for me. And I definitely was in a dark place at that time, because my aunt died at the same time. And I just used to wake up every day and just feel numb. And I kind of felt guilty about that, because people would tell me that my emotions will affect the baby. You have to be happy for the baby and everything was all about this baby. But I was like, I'm not happy. This isn't what I planned. This isn't what I wanted. Like, this is completely different from what I had envisioned for my birth plan and my pregnancy. So for a while, I was really in a dark place, until I spoke to someone who basically just told me that, look, you have to find your happiness and your joy in this thing and your mental strength. Just because giving birth it's mental, it's very, very mental. No matter how much you plan your birth plan, you don't actually know what's going to happen happen. From when you have that first contraction, you don't know how it's going to go. So she told me, she was like, listen, you need to actually, be strong mentally to do this. And I know that you feel sad, but just for this period, just try and find joy in anything. So for me, it was mainly music. Like I used to just listen to music a lot and just dance around and just try and make myself happy on a daily basis and plan a lot of stuff for the baby. So I would go clothes shopping, buy the baby's clothes, just try and figure out the kind of mom I wanted to be and how I wanted to be with my baby. So for me, yeah, my plan went flipped upside down. But at the end of the day, like I just had to work with it. And I think the minute that you see that baby, you kind of like, not everybody feels that way, but I felt a connection and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to make this work. Her dad isn't there, but I'm just going to, make the best of the situation.
That is like, that must have been, I can't even imagine that much of a deviation in your birth plan because yes, you kind of know I have to be flexible, but then to be doing it in a pandemic, to do it without your husband being there, and all of the anxieties that come with that must have been crazy. And I love that you mentioned that you didn't even feel like you were really allowed to be anxious or really allowed to be sad.
Yeah.
Because like, it affects the baby, which is true. But at the same time, like, I'm not just a vessel. I'm actually a person who's actually going through real things. And so I find that we stifle women when they're pregnant and don't really allow them experience like the full range of their emotions. So I don't really know what the way forward is with that, but I know that conversations help and being able to speak to people who will let you know like it's actually okay to be sad and you can have a moment to be sad, but then you need to kind of work through it, not just for yourself but of course for the baby. So I love that you said that because it is difficult. And in pregnancy, people expect you to just be happy all the time because, you're giving birth, it's a miracle, and it is. And, all life comes from God. It is a miracle to get pregnant. It's a testimony and it's a blessing, but it's also very, very hard.
Sure.
And that's one of the reasons why I love speaking with women, and I started the podcast so we can talk about these things because it's so hard. And sometimes you just need to feel like you're not allowed to express these emotions because you're a vessel and you're bringing forth life, which is great, but it's hard. And then I'm so glad that you had a friend who was able to tell you that you needed to try and find joy and try and find a way to be okay, because it's one thing to be sad about it, but you also need to be able to bring yourself out of it.
Sure.
And I love that you said music. Music was such a big thing for me. I didn't deal with any prenatal depression, I think, but postpartum depression was a big thing for me. And one of the things that really, really helped me was music. I used to listen to a lot of music just by myself.
It's helpful.
Kind of, it's so
therapeutic.
I agree.
So good. Dancing, just listening to even worship music helps me as well, because I was able to let out my upset and let out my emotions in private, and I cried a lot and then I picked myself out of it. But if I wasn't allowed to have that time to cry, it would have been a lot harder to deal with. Yeah,
I agree. And then at what point did you start feeling better? Like by the time it was time for the birth, were you in a much better mental place, or were you still kind of on the brink?
So basically, I think by the time it was time for the birth, I was definitely in a better mental place. And another thing that I forgot to mention that helped me a lot is having like a close circle of friends. So 2 of my friends were pregnant at the same time, and we had a little WhatsApp group, and we used to just have honest conversations, which is why I love what you're doing here. We need as women to actually start opening up and being honest about certain things, just so that, someone coming after you actually doesn't have to go through the exact same things that you went through. Like, for example, I remember when my baby was born, and I feel so bad admitting this, but I'm going to admit it. When my baby was born, I actually thought that she was really weird looking, and I couldn't tell anybody. I mentioned it to my mom, like I hinted. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting her to look like this. I was like, do you think that she's going to like blossom, you know. And my mom was just like, she's so beautiful. What are you talking about? So I was just like, okay, I can't, you know, say this.
Exactly.
Like, this is bad. But then in my little WhatsApp group, you know, I told my friends, I was like, look, man, this baby, I don't know. Like, you know, I know that I'm not ugly and my husband's not ugly. So what's going on? Is she always going to look like this? And they too also had the same experience. In fact, one of them, her child was beautiful from birth. But the other one, like, she had the same experience and she was like, you know, I hope that these kids blossom. And lo and behold, they did. But, you know, it gave us that kind of safe space to just be open and honest about the things that we're feeling, even the things that, you know, you're not necessarily meant to say as a mother, because really we're human beings and, you know, we're women aside from, you know, mothers, we're human beings. So, you know, I think having open conversations really helped me. So I was also able to tell those friends how I genuinely felt and they supported me through it, which, you know, really, really helped me a lot. Like just to be able to be like, oh my God, this sucks. This is not what I planned. You know, they were also able to speak life into me, which was really helpful. And I know that not everybody has that liberty and freedom because no one wants to be judged or, you know, to be looked at as ungrateful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's another thing that people do these days. Yes, we do realize that, you know, having children is a privilege and not everybody can have kids. In fact, in our generation, it seems like, you know, there's even more difficulties now, you know, more than ever. But then, you know, as well as being grateful, you can also be upset sometimes and you can also like question certain things. It doesn't mean that you're not happy that you're having a child. It just, you know, we're human at the end of the day. So I think we need to just like allow ourselves to be that, like give ourselves grace to just, you know, keep it real sometimes.
Listen, I can't even like, Datari is just spitting pure facts. Like I am just sitting here even trying to learn and really like listen. So this is incredible. I completely agree with everything you said. And I also want to co-sign newborns can be weird looking.
They look weird.
They can. I said it. And it is what it is. You know, when Marobi, my son, was born, I don't know. I think it was maybe kind of the way he went through like the birth canal because his head was like I was looking back at a picture someone sent me of when she was carrying him when he was 4 days old. And I was like, wow. And I remember being like, and with all three of my kids, I'm like,
okay, like there's that minute when you see them and you're like
okay,
oh,
let's see, you know, and then people are like, oh, send me pictures, and you're like, so you're not trying to find the best angle.
I know, right?
So you're not trying to angle. I used to angle the camera like this, and the baby would kind of. I'm like a hair. And they're like, but we're not seeing the face. I'm like, hey, you're not seeing the face.
I can
okay,
see
let me
now.
send another one.
I know.
Because, you know, it's strange. But I mean, obviously, it's hard to. I've never had this conversation with someone before.
I don't admit this to anybody because I'm sure people will still even judge me, but it is what it is.
But it is what it is. Newborns, they be weird looking.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's fine because they fill out and they
blossom
and their faces start like taking on their real shape and then ahead. That's why you'll be seeing, that's the thing. If you can check your fave mom influencers and all these people that share their baby pictures, is from like 8 weeks.
I'm telling you, they don't share
they will never
those ugly alien.
Exactly. So that's why you just see like the foot.
Mm-hmm. Or they'll have the baby in the carrier and it's just the back of the baby you're seeing.
And they're forming privacy, but they know
that baby don't look good yet.
Not yet. But the baby's time is coming.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Like I've been a mom
is
for 8 years. Is
it not a relief to just say it? To just literally say it because man, this baby
is hard. Oh wow. Thank you wow, you have blessed me today. So you had the baby and then at what point, because you had mentioned that your husband wasn't able to be there for the birth, at what point was the dad and your husband able to meet the baby?
The baby.
Yeah.
So she was actually 6 months when he met her, which is wild if you think about it. Like so many things had happened in between that time. I think she was already crawling or about to crawl at that time. So she had gone through so many different phases and literally now if you bring out a phone in front of my daughter, like she knows how to pose automatically because she was so used to video calling her dad. So we were just always like we had a Zoom and WhatsApp video call, you know, 6 months with my baby. So when she was 6 months, he came and he was able to meet her. And yeah, it took her a while to even adjust to the fact that, you know, this dynamic of there being two people. Now they're completely inseparable, but it was a bit of an adjustment at first, even for her, because, you know, pandemic babies, and anybody that had their baby in the pandemic will relate. Like, you literally have to make excuses for them everywhere. Like, you go places, they don't want anybody to touch them, come near them, you know, even other kids. So, you know, we're always apologizing. Whenever I see another mom that had her baby in the pandemic, I'm like, you get it, right? You have to just be like, she's a little bit unfriendly.
Yeah, she's
like,
not.
she doesn't like people.
She's not. They're just not used to people.
No, they didn't have that
crazy.
experience at all.
And it's not even just with newborns. I think that a lot of children, and I'm hoping that it's a topic that I get to explore some more. But I found that so many children, if not every child, has been impacted negatively by this 1 year or 1 year and some change of a lack of social interaction.
Yeah.
Because as adults, we're already fully formed for the most part. And it's been hard for adults, but children who are still trying to figure this whole thing out are now dealing with so much anxiety, are lacking in like certain social skills because they haven't had the chance to be around people for such a long period of time. And a year is a long time for a 4-year-old to not be around people. And then you're now suddenly thrust back into school. I remember when my kids were starting school, they started school much later actually because Marobi is asthmatic. So we wanted to make sure that it would be safe for him to go back to school. And I was talking to them the day before, like, oh, you know, you guys must be so excited. Because I thought maybe they'd be bouncing off the walls. Like, yeah, we can't wait to go back to school. And, you know, they were kind of, okay, even though the whole week they had been crying about how they're tired of online school and they're ready for school. But when the time came,
I'm sure
they were a bit like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, you know, but what's wrong? And it's like, yeah, you know, but what if my friends don't like me anymore? Or, you know, if my friends are not coming to school and then a couple of classmates had moved and it's too much. So they were going to school and they were scared.
It's a lot.
And even that week, it was now just trying to adjust to being around people and figuring out where you are in like the social like hierarchy and all, like all of that. It's a lot. I have friends whose kids have become extremely anxious during the pandemic because, you know, we don't know when we have the TV on and these kids are just seeing, you know, like CNN, you just seen body counts. You see the numbers, 1 million, 3 million, 100 dead. You see the people outside the beds outside the hospitals because the ICU is full, and kids have been taking all of that information in.
Yeah.
So they're nervous, and there's a regression I found, and I want to. It's something I would like to explore more. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I can imagine what it's like for newborns, but just so you know, it's not even just them. Like now kids don't even, all these kids are still trying to figure it out. And it's so crazy and it's so intense.
It sounds really, really crazy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of their learning actually comes from even watching their peers, right?
Exactly.
And their interactions with their peers. So I can imagine it must be really difficult for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a while for everyone to recover from the pandemic, even though it's over now. I think definitely it affected all of us.
Mm-hmm. I know. Okay. So, as someone so you were in America for how long before you came back?
Back to Lagos.
Yes, back to Lagos.
About a year and 3 months, so just over a year.
And as someone who has parented now in the abroad, in the US of A, and has parented or is currently parenting in Lagos, what would you say some of like the key differences are in your mothering style, if there's any difference, or if there's any difference, or what the differences are?
There are so many. In fact, it is like literally like night and day. Parenting abroad and parenting in Nigeria, it's completely different. First of all, I wish my husband could have been stuck with me in that pandemic abroad, because I think that dads abroad are so much more hands-on than dads in Lagos or in Nigeria in general. Moms too, but dads especially. Like I find that abroad dads, they know a lot about their kids. You know, they do a lot of stuff because a lot of people can't afford to have like nannies nannies and, you know, different house helps and stuff like that. So definitely that is one of the things that the dynamic is different, because even in Nigeria, like my nannies, I have two nannies, which is another thing that I'll talk about, because it was a little bit, I don't know, controversial when people found out, like my relatives found out that I had two nannies. One of my aunties even was like, you know, complaining to my dad about it, that, you know, why do I have two nannies for one child? But I'll tell you my reason after, when I go to my Lagos parenting experience. But abroad, you know, it was just me, my mom. We were stuck in a pandemic. We had no other help. And my brothers. My brothers now are like, literally, they're like nannies. Like, they know everything because really and truly abroad, everybody has to get stuck in. So it is a way more hands-on experience. It is, you know, sometimes a lot more stressful because you can't choose to just kind of like switch off and not, you know, do certain things. Like, you know, you actually have to do it because you don't have staff to help you out. I think also abroad as well, there's a lot more things to engage your children. So you can always, you know, take them out, distract them, you know, take them to the park. Although we weren't going out that much in the pandemic,
Of
I
course.
felt like she was more engaged in America than over here. And just basically, I mean, in terms of like feeling tired and worn out as a mom, definitely when I was abroad, I used to feel tired all the time because it was mainly I was the main caretaker for my daughter and my mom as well. So in between us like taking shifts and stuff, I just felt like really worn out sometimes because, you know, you literally have to do every single thing yourself for the baby. However, on the flip side, I felt like I had a deeper connection with my daughter when I was in America because I knew everything about her. I know where her stuff is. I'm the one that changes her diaper, you know, baths her, everything. Now, in Lagos, my first experience, so my first week in Lagos, when I first had a nanny, so this was like a nanny for a 1-year-old. My daughter was 1 when we came back.
Right.
Like, my first week, I was like, oh my God, if I actually decided to do nothing for this baby at all, not change her, not feed her, like everything is done for me. I think in Nigeria, you actually get to enjoy your kids more. Because they're just presented to you. Like,
They're clean,
they're fed.
And it's so, like, oh, here you go.
Exactly. So what you are doing is maybe focusing more on developmental stuff that maybe your house helps and nannies and stuff may not, you know, be able to do as well as you. And really just enjoying playing, and you're happy, you're less stressed out. So, you know, my first week I was like, oh my gosh, is this a dream? I would wake up, and my nanny also, she's just the best with Tiara. Like, she's really good at dressing her, so she knows how to match her bow, match her shoe, you know. I didn't even have to tell her like this goes with this. Like, she just comes correct. So in the morning she's presented to me, and then I pick and choose, you know, it sounds so bad, but like I pick and choose, you know, how much time I spend with her and, you know, when I spend time with her and what I do with her. Now, I found that in Lagos, I have to be a lot more intentional with my parenting because, like I said, if I choose to never see my baby and, you know, let my nannies just look after her, then, you know, I don't have to do anything because they actually look after her very well and everything is done for me. But, you know, I don't want to have that experience. I want to have a relationship with my daughter. I want to do stuff. I want to know where her stuff is. So I have to really be intentional and make sure that I'm always checking, always, you know, checkmating them as well. So they know that I'm interested in what's going on with her. So they don't, like, you know, do rubbish basically. My first week with my nanny actually burnt my daughter with an iron, which was also a very interesting experience because, you know, I had to decide whether to just let her go because I was like, how? I mean, it was an accident, you know, but when it first happened, she pretended like she didn't know, you know, what it was. She didn't know what the burn was. She was like, oh, she thought it was a rash and everything.
Oh no.
It was crazy. I was like, for me, like, if you do something, own up to it, hold your hands up. If you lie, then bye, like, you're gone. Like, hell no. Like, I wasn't going to have her stay. But then when I had experiences and, you know, talking to other people about their experiences as well, you know, I think sometimes it's better the devil you know. If the person is good in all other aspects,
Amen.
and you're able to kind of like train them, explain. And one thing that my husband explained to me at the time, he was like, look, there's some people that if she came and was like, yeah, the iron accidentally burnt your daughter, there's some people that would just go crazy, call the police, get them locked up, and then that's why their first instinct is to lie. So he was like, look, just sit her down later when everything is calm, talk to her and just explain to her that, look, you don't like lying, that if she is honest with you, there will always be a place for her in this house, and you will always be receptive and try and be understanding if she is honest. But the minute that she lies, that's it. Like, if she does it again, she's gone. So that was one of the things that also made me know that I had to be more intentional, like with my parenting in Lagos. You have to actually watch the people that are watching your child as well. So I installed CCTV cameras and stuff, and that really helped me a lot. But yeah, it's completely different. Completely different.
Like, I love that you spoke about the child just being presented to you, right? Because like you said, that's how it be.
Yeah.
That's how it be.
Yep.
If you have good nannies. There's some people who have like horrendous nannies, and you find that you're paying people and then you still have to do all the work.
Right.
But if things work as they should, then it really takes the load off for you to focus on other things, like you said, like the developmental aspect, their spiritual lives, their education, their extracurricular and things like that, and their character.
Sure.
And that's also really important. But it's also more important to be intentional about making sure that you do get that time in, because it's really easy to get a bit lazy. And I'm talking to myself here as well, to just kind of, they'll be okay.
Yeah.
And, before, like when my kids were much younger, and because I had my first and second so close to each other, it was like having twins. So sometimes I'd actually avoid them because I'm like, I know if they see me, they're going to want to follow me. So I was just like, like I'll hear them playing. I'm like, okay, are they okay? Let me just go to my room. So I'll just moonwalk back into my room so they don't see me and look for me. But yeah, I love having help. I love that, and because I feel like it makes me more productive. It makes me better, and I feel like when I'm rested and happier, then everyone gets the best version of Nicole there is. Like, I can still, have time to work out. I can still dress up. I can look cute. I can go out with my friends, so I'm happy. I'm not like snarky. So I love help. But kudos to the moms abroad who are doing it, killing it. They're working, they're hands-on, they're going out for dinner with their friends. Like, I don't know how they're doing it. I don't. Amazing.
They need a Nobel Peace Prize.
They do. Each of them. They are queen. They're like, no, because me, I know, no, I don't know.
Honestly,
I don't know if I'm...
honestly, I would have left Nigeria if it wasn't for the help. But like, I can't imagine doing that whole looking after my kid completely by myself right now at this particular stage in my life. Like, I'm loving the help. And I love the fact that you mentioned about looking good, because when I was, in America, to be fair, I wasn't dressing up that much. I wasn't taking care of myself as much. And I was actually losing my confidence, from just letting myself go. So in Nigeria, because I have that help, I'm able to spend a little bit more time looking after myself, putting on some makeup, brushing my hair, and it actually really made me so much more of a better person, a better mom as well, because I'm happy. I feel good, when I look good, or when I at least look presentable, because you can't be switched on every day. But at least when I, can look a little bit presentable, it really, really helps my confidence, and makes me a better Datari for everybody in my household. So
love it. So my next question was going to be about, I mean, I know you trained as a lawyer. How did you, I don't know if do you still practice law, or how did you kind of transition into this content creation space, navigating millennial motherhood?
So basically, it was kind of out of circumstance, to be completely honest with you. So I'm no longer practicing law actively. I'm actually in a completely different field, which led, I I found myself through motherhood and found myself in this new field. So I work as a digital strategist at the moment for a tech company. And that literally came about. In fact, one of the things that they asked me about in my interview was my YouTube channel, which was crazy. And yeah, they
Wow.
were like that, that they've seen that I create content. So, that will help me from the content creator side, because they're like a tech company. It's a B2B business. So they work with other businesses.
Okay.
But they were like, when you actually create content yourself, you know what you are expecting when you're putting it out or what you're trying to achieve. So it gives you a really holistic perspective on the whole content creation thing. Now, why I started creating content, to be completely honest, was because, first of all, I just felt that there wasn't enough honesty out there. I know that authenticity is really hot at the moment, but it's really hot. Everybody's like, yeah, share. And I actually love it because, especially in Nigerian society, there's just so much secrecy and there's so much kind of like, playing to the gallery and acting like everything is cool. You've got it all together. And I was like, no, 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 because I personally have learned so much from other people's experiences, which is why I share mine. Every time I do, I literally cringe. I'm like, oh my God, you're taking one for the team, because it's not easy. And, all of the content creators also need like a round of applause, because it is actually not easy bearing your life and sharing intimate details about yourself, to people that you don't know. But it is also so helpful. It is such a powerful tool. It's actually one of the most powerful tools for women empowerment, I think, because
I agree.
yeah, because we can actually share information, share experiences, and you don't feel like, you're failing as a mother or as a wife or as a woman, because you're like, okay, this person went through this and, they got through it, or this is how they dealt with this experience, So that's one of the reasons that I got into content creation. And then also, when I was in America, I remember when I first started creating content, a brand reached out to me and they wanted to send me some products and they wanted to pay me to post about them. And I was like, huh? At this time, I had like maybe like 2,000 followers on Instagram. I just considered myself, someone that was just having fun and, sharing my story. But then I also realized, which is another thing that I think that, women can also use as a powerful tool for empowerment, that you can actually make a lot of money online. You can actually have it as a legitimate source of income. So, from that, I started doing it. And then, working with different brands, it enabled me to kind of make some money whilst I was in America, because I couldn't come back to Nigeria because of the pandemic. I didn't have a job. I had quit in January 2020, and then the pandemic hit in March. So my plan was to come back to Nigeria and get a job. But since I didn't have a job and I was newly married, I didn't want to put so much pressure on my husband. I mean, converting Naira to dollars, it ain't easy.
No,
It's
it's
not for the
not.
faint-hearted. So I just decided that I would try and actually, monetize, whatever small influence I had online, and, try and have that as a little side hustle to take pressure off my husband. So those are the two main reasons: authenticity, and also, I mean, I don't want to come here and pretend that I don't enjoy being paid to create content as well. Although I love doing it I would do it for free anyway, but when you're able to monetize it a little bit, it helps.
I
Like,
agree.
it helps. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that you touched on authenticity, because it's really, like you said, it's something that's been kind of floating around for some time. But I think that it was mostly in like the Western part of the world.
Yeah.
It really took a while for it to kind of filter um, down to Africa, down to Nigeria in particular, where appearances are everything.
Yeah.
And it's so discouraging, because when I started on my motherhood journey, this was 8 years ago, there was nothing like that on like social media. So
Yeah.
when I had any questions, or I was feeling sad or depressed, or I needed someone to talk to, and then I also got married quite early, and I
Yeah,
had
you
my
did.
I was
Looking back, you're like a child bride.
I was like, I was 24, like it was wild. So
Wow.
no, I didn't really have any friends who were married or had kids around that time. So I would, of course, go online, but then online, these are all white women. So
Yeah.
while I could relate to some of the things, I felt like it would have been so beneficial to me to see and hear from someone who looked like me and who was going through my exact experiences, who was being told to eat pap for their breast milk, things like that. Like it was,
Exactly.
or whether I should give my child, that local bath, when they stretch you
Yeah,
and
they
all of those things
bend.
and
That thing
bend.
is scary.
It's scary. Did you do it?
Yeah,
Oh
my mom did
wow, your
it, but
mom
I
did
couldn't
it.
watch all of it.
No,
I
no, no, I
watched
couldn't
like a
watch it.
second, and then I was like, no, 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 no. Like, why are you bend? Like, you're gonna break her arm off.
Exactly. No, I couldn't watch that. I couldn't. I think one of my nannies. I think my mom did it for Marobi, but my point is, I was lost because I didn't have anyone. So I love seeing more and more moms like yourself who are authentic, and I love that when you're saying you're authentic, that's how it really means it. Like it's not like a filtered authenticity where it's like, oh, I'm such a mess. Like you're wearing, like you're wearing like a three-piece suit and you're like, like I'm such a mess today. I only made 3 things for dinner instead of 5 for the family. All of that stuff. Like
Yeah,
she's really being authentic. So I really, really love and appreciate your page. And I love that
thank
you're getting paid for
you.
it. There's nothing I love to hear more than a mom getting paid. Better
Thank
get your coins, better get
you.
your dollars.
Thank
I love
you.
to see it.
Thank you. But then there's another aspect as well. So at a point so I started off on YouTube and then kind of blended both YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah.
And at a point I had to stop my YouTube channel, temporarily, which I am starting back again very soon.
Great.
But one of the reasons that I stopped it, and I think this is another element that holds people back from sharing on social media, was at that time my daughter ended up. So she had what I don't know the medical term for it, but basically she had like a flat head kind of syndrome thing.
Okay.
Like her head was flat on one side. I think from the way that I was putting her to lie down and just generally. It happens to some kids.
Yeah.
So she had to wear a helmet for about 2 months, 3 months. No, almost 4 months she had to wear a helmet.
Okay.
Yeah. So when it happened at first, one of the things that older people were telling me, I guess aunties and things like that, is like, you're putting your life out there, you're opening yourself up to like attacks or people, bad mind people, like juju, all of that kind of stuff. There's nothing that I didn't hear. And for a while, it held me back. And I was kind of like in this place of fear that, let me not put my daughter out there. So what I would do, any pictures that I did put of my daughter during that period, I would quickly take off her helmet, put one turban on her head. Like everyone knows my daughter for turbans.
Yes.
But they don't fully know the reason why she was wearing turbans all the time because, I had to shave her hair completely off to do the surgery and everything. So
wow, she had to have surgery.
yeah, so it's like it's like a molding kind of surgery. So they mold the head back to its original shape. So they have to hold one side and then the other side is free to kind of like grow to whatever shape they want it to be. So this happened over a period of 4 months, which, ordinarily I would have wanted to share. And, I know that there are a lot of people that may go through that kind of situation or other kind of medical situations with their children. But then from an African perspective, anything that happens, you now think, hey, it's because I'm talking about my business.
It's my enemies.
Exactly. And I only just came to the realization, I guess also because I'm a Christian, that you know what? No, like if God actually leads you to do something, to share, then God will guide you and protect you. This was probably going to happen anyway. It's not necessarily just because I opened up or I was sharing my daughter's picture, because I know especially with the older generation, they warn you about, putting your children's pictures on social media. And I think if you're a private person, fine, have your privacy. But if you do feel like sharing and you're held back because of, let somebody not see my beautiful child and, I don't know, their bad energy or their juju or whatever. Like, I just think that no, like we should just be liberated and free. I only just recently came to this realization that, you know what, no, at the end of the day, you don't know, like the feedback that I get from people, it just reassures me that you don't even know when you're sharing who you are sharing for. You're just there saying all of these things, even like the most basic things, like even you with your blog and your skincare tips and things like that. You don't know how many people have had their confidence regained, or when you share things about your kids, you don't know how many people, especially because like you're married to a celebrity and you're a celebrity yourself, just seeing that human aspect of you, so many people are liberated by that. So definitely it's been an interesting journey with this whole content thing. But
wow.
yeah.
Wow. So I had no idea regarding Tiara and her.
I didn't tell anybody.
That is wild.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I mean, it was always a minor thing. So I'm glad that everything, kind of worked out.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're sharing that because I didn't even know about that. I know someone who had a daughter who was always in a helmet,
Yeah.
but I wasn't quite sure
Why,
why.
right?
Yeah, and I didn't want to ask. So
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things I think about and I'm like, well, it's not really my business. But
Yeah.
I had no idea. So that's really informative. So for moms
Yeah.
out there, you're not alone if you're going through it.
That's right. Because
That's
there's the guilt
incredible.
element of it
Hmm.
because, it could partially be caused from the way that the baby sleeps. And, I was what my mom calls a Google mom. I used to live by Google.
Same.
So, yeah, do you know what I mean? So they say, don't lie your baby down on their tummy, just keep them on their back. Back is best. I even had this like wrap thing that my daughter used to wear. And on the
Yeah.
front of it, it says back is best. So I was
Yes.
like, always
Yes.
put her down on her back. But because she slept very well, I mean, my daughter slept through the night from 2 months. Like she was literally like a sleeper. So all that pressure on her head actually attributed to what happened. So I also went through that guilt of, oh my God, did I do this? Did I cause this? Was I not like, I didn't even know. It was the doctor that told me that, look, her head is misshapen. And even with having the helmet surgery, like I didn't want her to do it just because I didn't want to shave off her head and for people to see her in a helmet. So I
Oh
ended up prolonging
wow.
it. She was meant to do it at 3 months. She did it at 6 months, when my husband first came. And I didn't want to do it because I was kind of like embarrassed,
Oh
and
my
yeah, to be
gosh.
honest, I delayed and delayed and delayed. And then I took the decision that, look, I want to do what's best for my child at the end of the day. Let her do that, even if I have to shave off all her hair and, whatever anybody has to say. So it was a bit of it took a while for me to also come to that decision to do it because I was just scared of what people would think, like see my daughter in a helmet. And even me, when I saw her for the first time, I was like, oh my God, like my little baby with this helmet. But, it was what's best for her.
Hmm.
So it worked out well in the end and she's good now. So
Thank God she is. And
yeah,
thank you so much for sharing that. My next question, I mean, the name of the podcast is Mom's Worst Day, but I can imagine that period would have been
worst, very worst, very, very, very worst part of my motherhood journey so far because also as well, because I was creating content, I didn't know how much to share. And I think I also had to come to the realization that even though I want to always be authentic, I don't have to share things when I am going through them.
right.
I want to always share from a place of empowerment, not from a place of, oh my God, look at me, my child is wearing a helmet, blah, blah, blah. So like now I feel like I'm over it. I mentally, I feel ready to share about it, which is why I'm able to share it here. I've not shared it on my social platforms yet, but I just feel like I'm in a better place and I'm able to share it now. At that time I wasn't in a good place because it was depressing, it was
Hmm.
sad, it was,
Hmm.
I felt guilty. I felt like, why me? Like why is it but like my baby? you know? That kind
Exactly.
of thing. So it was definitely the worst period. I think that and when my daughter had jaundice, because that was another thing that I blamed myself for because I
How?
I don't know why.
Datari.
So I
How?
didn't know that jaundice was something that happens to babies ordinarily.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
when I got to her first doctor's appointment and they told me that she has jaundice, they were like, will you feed? I was bang like dead on breastfeeding by fire, by force. Even when there was like only droplets of milk coming out, I was like, no, I'm a breastfeeding mother because, everybody just sees like, breastfeeding is best for your babies, blah,
Mhm.
blah, blah. And actually, you were one of the people that I spoke to that was like, will you give that baby some formula? Like, she was literally starving. And I was so hell bent on being a breastfeeding mother. And
Mhm.
I think after I spoke to her, I started to give her formula and she started to actually put on weight and get better. So,
Amen.
yeah,
What is the best thing about being a mom to you?
I just think for me, the fact that my daughter just loves me regardless. Like, other people, adults and children are so different in that regard. Like with my husband, like I can probably do something and, tomorrow he'll be looking at me with side eye. But with,
Mhm.
with my daughter, like, I just love the fact that I'm just so amazing to her. Like, she just makes me feel so good. No matter how bad I am as a mother, if I'm having a bad day, a good day, like, she just loves me regardless. And she's so sweet and, loving and caring. So I love that element. And just, yeah, just the fact that she loves me that way, and just the fact that I'm able to, kind of shape another human being,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
I love creating impact. So I love giving back and that kind of a thing. So just the fact that I'm able to, do things like even praying with her, even, teaching her little things, music, the movies that we watched that I watched when I was a little kid, like her
Oh,
favorite
that's
show
also
is,
awesome.
yeah, like her favorite show is Blue's Clues, and I used to love Blue's Clues.
Me
Oh my
too.
god.
I loved Blue's Clues,
Yes, but
and
there's a new guy now
yes, I
though.
know the Asian one.
Yes,
Yes, no, I'm
exactly.
up to date, and
Oh,
it's
I
so
didn't
sad. I was
know.
literally watching Blue's Clues even up until I was like 13. I was watching Blue's Clues because Blue's Clues was
It
late.
was lit.
Yeah.
So yeah, just getting to share that with her and everything. I think that's the best part of motherhood for me, definitely.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we're almost at the end. Usually
Oh,
at the end of the podcast, I'll share. I'm massive. I'm big, big, big on affirmations
ooh,
because I found that saying certain things to myself has rewired the way that I see myself and kind of
yeah.
guides my thoughts for the day. So I try and find an affirmation every day regarding different aspects of my life, including motherhood. And I just think on it and I say it to myself. And today's affirmation is not loving every moment of motherhood does not mean I don't love being a mom.
I love that. I love that. That is so true.
What like as you hear that, like what are you getting? Like, what is that saying to you? Not loving every moment of motherhood does not mean I don't love being a mom.
Oh, it is like literally that resonates with me so much because at times, sometimes, especially like for example, with my own personal experience, I got pregnant a month after getting married. So I got thrown into the wife kind of duty and then thrown into motherhood pretty quickly. So sometimes, like, I even have times when I'm like, oh my God, should I have had a child so soon?
Hmm.
Like, I still try to figure out like being a wife and balancing that whole dynamic. So, just because I have those thoughts sometimes, it doesn't mean that I don't love my daughter or, I don't love being a mom. I think the fact that not every element is going to be amazing and fantastic, that even some things that, are very, there's a bit of like, I don't know, kind of like a boring element, right, to motherhood
Yes.
and a bit of
Yes.
mundane kind of like, element as well.
Yes.
So I think people also don't talk about that so much. So just because those things exist and just because sometimes you don't always feel, great about it doesn't necessarily mean that fundamentally you don't love it because it's such a rewarding experience. And I think part of those bad, moments, those things that are difficult, the things that challenge you, that is what, comes together to make the experience so rewarding. Because it's
Oh,
like, I've had a sleepless night, but my baby is, everything to me. Like, I feel terrible. I don't feel like doing anything today, but I just saw my daughter's smile and it has lifted me up. So it's all about balance, yin and yang. And yeah, I think that's what the affirmation means to me. And I love it. I need to write it down.
I'll
And
send it to you.
yeah, please. I love it. It's really, really so true. I'm sure so many moms can relate to that.
Yes, I think so too. Wow, what a powerful way to end this conversation. Datari, thank you so, so, so much for coming in and sharing
Thank
so candidly and
you.
openly and so eloquently about your journey so far. And
Thank
I'm sure that
you.
so many first-time moms and so many new moms will be able to take so much from this conversation.
Thank
So please, please, please,
you.
for more information, for more amazing motherhood content, lifestyle content, because Data is she's an incredible woman. So just being able to follow her on socials, like I look forward to her posts. So
Thank
please make sure you
you.
follow her at the D Low.
Thank
And then
you.
we should also look out for your YouTube channel, which should be coming back
Yeah,
soon.
so next month I should be back with video content and
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. So thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so honored. This has been so much fun.
thank you. I've really enjoyed it too. And you are amazing. You're like the baddest mama jamma at the
Oh,
moment out there.
oh, oh.
I love your page, love your content, love the fact that you're fun with motherhood because it doesn't always have to be so serious, right?
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.